Nah, I got the better parlay. Argue about the spread, it's a fierce debate. But when it comes to Wildcats, they align their fate. Blitz the bookies where the knowledge reigns. Charlie and Anthony bring the heat like flames. Talking parlays, breaking down the games. Kentucky Wildcats, they beat the same drums.
All right, we are back for another episode of the Blitz the Bookie podcast. I'm Charlie Winkle, joined by Anthony Roberts. It is Tuesday, May the 20th. The NBA and NHL Conference Championships are set and ready to start tonight. The NFL will allow players to play flag football in the 2028 Olympics. Aaron Judge still batting over 400. We'll talk about if we think he can sustain that through the end of the year. Journalism wins the Preakness in spectacular fashion in a race that we thought would be underwhelming. Actually ended up being one of the best races you're going to see. And this weekend is Memorial Day. Long weekend, and it is time for the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indy 500. So we'll talk about it all. Anthony, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good. Getting ready for the summer. Summertime will be here this weekend. First weekend of the summer. Ain't that what they call Memorial Day?
Is it?
Yeah.
It ain't until like June 20th, isn't it?
I thought Memorial Day kind of kicked off the summer.
Well, I mean, technically it does. Our kids get out of school this week. Friday, I think, is the last day of school.
Yep.
So
I got a daughter graduating high school this weekend.
Uh-oh.
It's really sad, Charlie. I'm just telling you, it's messing with me on all levels. If I was her, I'd be leveraging anything I could because I'd pretty much buy her anything right now. Just letting you know. Pretty much anything.
Yeah, you should be proud though. Riley's a good good
Yes.
kid, and I'm sure she'll do great. I can already feel it, and I'm not even close to that, Anthony. My kid's just in middle school, and I'm starting to think about where you're at right now. So I can only imagine.
It's very hard. It's their whole life. It flashes right in front of you. You start thinking about when they were little kids, and now they're going to go out into this big world, hard world, disappointing world, success world, all those things. You're scared to death for them. It's real. It's real, Charlie. I'm super excited for her. So we got all her graduation shenanigans this weekend. I don't think my wife's quit spending money on all this stuff over the past month, which is okay. Started off with Cancun, and I think we're going to end with graduation party. We rented out some top floor of a restaurant. So
There you go. Where's she graduating now? Where's it at?
I
Center?
I don't do the schedule. I just my wife tells me where to be and what time to be there.
You don't know where it's at?
My wife handles that. We got different roles. We do.
I would think it's somewhere. I mean,
It's one of those places.
Young Center, right?
Manual's a decent sized high school.
Ours was Freedom Hall. That
It's,
was a long time ago. Where'd you graduate? Where was yours at?
It was. We had
Ours
ours.
was at
we were
Freedom Hall.
Hall.
Yeah,
Freedom
Freedom
Hall.
Hall.
Yeah.
So I would imagine they probably do them at the Yum Center these days.
Yeah. It's scary. You know, at cars, letting them get their driver's license, letting them drive, the phone calls when they get in a wreck. Dude, it's front and center. And you're going to have two of them there about the same time. Let me tell you, there's nothing cheap about it. My daughter works. We can all tell them to get jobs, but we also want them to be involved in things. And there's a hard balance there. We've talked about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard balance. And I'm telling you, when they're kids and we're complaining about those $300-$400 bats, them were the cheap days.
Yeah, it's going to get way more expensive.
The car's the cheap part. The insurance is the expensive part there.
Yeah, at least you had a girl. I got boys.
Yeah, I
so
get
it's
it.
going to be even more. Well, I know you got Rex, but yeah, the boys and the insurance, from what I hear, is a lot more. So I don't want to think about it. I thought we was talking about. I thought we was talking about your daughter that was
good stuff,
graduating.
but
I still got 6 years for that.
No doubt, Charlie. The Preakness was awesome. It was awesome. I have a few things to say about it. A little bit against the grain on that. And the NBA playoffs.
The question everybody wants to know is, Anthony, who you got in the NHL playoffs?
Whoever the best fighter is.
The Mighty Ducks?
Yep.
They're not in it. The Caps are out, so I don't care anymore.
Are the Penguins in it?
No.
The Pittsburgh Penguins? I like them.
Mario Lemieux's gone, and Jaromir Jagr still plays somewhere. He's like 60, 55 or something like that. He's still playing somewhere, but The Penguins aren't in it.
River Frogs any good anymore?
The River Frogs. That was fun. Did you ever go to any River Frogs?
One game.
There was another team too. Who the Ice was it? The Ice Hawks or
I just
didn't
remember
we
the
have
River
another
Frogs.
one? I thought there was a second team.
River Frogs, the Penguins, the Capitals, the Mighty Ducks, Russia versus America, America on Ice. That's about my extent of hockey. Gretzky, Lemieux.
Well, you got the Florida Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes in the East. Who you got? I'm taking Florida because Carolina beat my Caps. I don't care about the whole we got beat by the champs. Fuck Carolina. I hope they lose.
I'll take Carolina. There's no way they can play hockey in Florida. It's too hot down there.
That's a good call. Then you got the Dallas Stars and the Edmonton Oilers. So there is a one Canadian team left. I'm going with the Edmonton Oilers.
No doubt.
Canada.
Listen, I'm patriotic as it comes, Charlie. But when it comes to hockey, I'm going to stick with Russia and Canada. The America on Ice, it happened once, but I don't think it's going to happen again.
I'm going with Edmonton too. So game 1 tonight of Eastern Conference and game 1 tomorrow of the Western Conference. And we'll get Anthony's update next week on the hockey side.
Do they got the flying V? You know, the Mighty Ducks,
yeah.
The flying V, that always helps them score points.
They should try it.
The knuckle puck?
The knuckle puck was where it was at.
No doubt. Goldberg. I love that movie. I really did.
Yeah, so we'll get Anthony's update on the NHL. I'm probably not going to watch much either because my Capitals are out. I'll get back into it in the Stanley Cup, but I'm still a little sour right now. So
you're the only guy I know that watches hockey, Charlie. Honestly, now all jokes aside, you're the only guy I know that watches hockey, and I think it's awesome. I do. I think it's awesome. But
there's plenty of people.
I know there is, but out of people I know, you're the only guy I know that watches hockey. So you're my hockey expert.
Missing out. I'm
get
telling
it.
you,
No,
turn it on as long as it's a 1-goal game. Within about 5-6 minutes left, even if you don't want to sit there and watch the whole game, watch the last 5 minutes. There is no more exciting sport. I'm telling you that it's not. I will argue.
I believe it.
These guys play. We looked it up. I know we talked about it a few weeks ago, and I've talked about it before. Hockey shifts are like 40 seconds long. They can only stay on the ice.
That's crazy.
For like a minute on the ice is long because they never take any time off. Very rarely do they have any rest time when they're out there. So it's always exciting. I'm telling you, hockey. I know it's not anywhere in the culture here in Kentucky, but hockey is fun to watch, especially in the playoffs. And I had some Kentucky friends text me and say that they played street hockey here in Kentucky. You said nobody did it here in Kentucky.
Sideline pop in my neighborhood.
Sideline pop. All right, where do you want to go, Anthony?
We can talk a little NFL.
Yeah,
we'll jump in the NFL.
You got anything other than the flag football? Well, you got your boy Hendrickson still holding out.
Still holding out. He said he's not. Said he's not playing without a contract. Charlie. There's a piece of me that says bullcrap, and I'm a Bengals guy. I like Trey, but I say you signed a contract. You got to play for what you signed for. Then sometimes the teams hit, sometimes they miss, and you're either going to benefit or whatever. But you signed that contract. You need to play for that amount of money. To me, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. But then when you get reading, there's things these teams can do and get out of contracts. So I don't know all the ins and outs of it. You know, the only thing I hear is how cheap the Bengals are. Now, I think that part is stupid because when you look, they're actually one of the higher paid teams. Everybody has a salary cap they stay within, and they're not one of the bottom ones. I don't know where that comes from but, you know, it's a business, so they got to fit everybody within that cap or everybody within that amount of money. But I don't know really enough about it. I would like to see Trey play this year. Maybe Trey feels like he needs that new contract or he's not going to play. So that's what he said. Is that just playing hardball with negotiations? Very well could be. Or it could be him, you know, drawing a line in the sand. I've heard people say, well, you know, let him go out there and look. He has looked. No, he hasn't been able to get that deal because he has looked. He has tested the market. So I do want to learn more about the salary caps and the ins and outs of all that. I feel like I've learned a lot over the last couple of years, but I really want to learn a lot about that because to me, that stuff's interesting, fitting all these players within this budget and trying to put the team together. But that's one of the big things on the NFL front.
You love that shit. I hate that shit.
I like it, but I don't understand it as much as I would like.
I don't care about the numbers. It's too much to keep up with, and I actually agree with what you said about the contracts. A contract should be a contract. That's the problem these days. Contract doesn't mean anything.
Because what happens if you sign a bad one? Then you got to eat that. Like Watson, like say you're Cleveland right now, and you spent all that money. Well, you got to eat that, right? So
sometimes I think you said it perfectly. Sometimes the team's going to get the right side of it. Maybe they'll get the bad side of it. Sometimes the player's going to get the right side of the contract. Sometimes they might get the bad side of it. But if we look up the definition of a contract, right, that's not what it is anymore because either side can opt out or has some way of opting out or buying out or restructuring or whatever. Look, if it's a 3-year contract, whatever you sign that first year, you got to –
that's the whole idea.
You got to get through your 3-year contract.
Well, I've heard people like in the comment section.
But it needs to be consistent.
Yeah. And if the teams – I agree with all that. But
how about no buyouts?
Yeah.
How about no buyouts?
When they're signing these contracts, they know how they can get in it. They know how they can get out of it.
Right.
And I've said for a while, I think one of the biggest ways they get out of it, I don't think it's morally correct, but I think they sweep a lot of stuff under the rug. Whenever they got a player that's doing well, he's producing. You let a player start not producing, and at that point the team has a bad contract. I've told you this. I've told my other friends this. If I was, Kenny Payne at Louisville, I think it happened to Baltimore's kicker maybe. But when you start messing up, they're looking for that. You're not getting nothing swept under the rug at that point. That's their way out of that contract. And I think they look for that. So
how about just make, say, 2-year contracts across the board?
I don't hate it.
3-year contracts, whatever you want to say. Nothing can be more than 3 years. This contract, once you sign it, both sides, player and team, this is what it is.
Players,
I guess they don't never.
But the players don't. Players want that security. They want that security, that guaranteed money. That's what they're always going for. But
both sides would have to be more careful with their negotiation because they would know as soon as they signed on that dotted line that it was locked up and there's no way to change it for 3 years. No way. Either side can change the contract. It is what it is. You would have much more careful negotiation process.
You would?
Wouldn't you think?
No, you would.
On both sides.
I don't like anybody, and it ain't just the Bengals. I don't like anybody saying a team's cheap. They're trying to get the best team possible, guys. We're in the NFL. This is highly competitive, a lot of money on the line. They want to get the best team to produce the best results so it helps them make money. They're trying to do the best they can do. I'm not saying they always get it right. But I promise you, it's not no favoritism or nothing like that. People lose jobs over that. Nobody's being cheap. They're trying to make I just feel like that's the most uneducated fan when they say stuff like that. And it's not just the Bengals, but they're one of them. Oh, the Bengals are always cheap.
They're spending money. I would argue they're spending money in the wrong places.
Right now, I agree with the two wide receiver argument. I agree with that,
and
Charlie.
You know how much
and they could be right. They could be right.
And you know how much I like T. Higgins.
Yep, I agree.
know how much I like him.
Yep.
But if we're looking at the whole team overall, yeah, it's nice to think about having those two guys together again. But the money you spent on him should have probably went to the defense.
I think a lot of people agree with that. But I'll say this. They could be right. We could be wrong.
But
only time will tell.
Y'all still going to have to score 45 this year every week.
The defense was hurt. Listen, I don't know enough about it.
You can't sustain that through 18 weeks.
Yeah.
You can't. Yeah. You cannot rely on your offense to have to score 35 plus. That was a problem for y'all. Y'all could have won a handful of more games if y'all didn't have to score 40.
We had a lot of injuries and a lot of bad luck last year. We had a lot of bad luck.
We did have a lot of injuries. But I'm telling you, even with the injuries, and every team goes through injuries in the NFL. Some of them worse, some of them worse than others. But it's next man up.
We had some bad luck.
It's professionals. They still could have made the playoffs if they. Matter of fact, they could have. They were close to making the playoffs at the end of the year with a terrible record.
They should have beat Baltimore both times they played them. In my opinion, they outplayed them both times. But that's part of the NFL.
Let's look back at the score to those games. You remember what they were?
They were really close. I think one time it was a kicker, and the other time, I forget what it was.
I bet you they were both in the 30s, weren't they?
No doubt. They're an offensive team.
Yeah.
But I think their defense is not as bad as what it seems. Maybe I'm wrong.
Looked pretty bad to me. So the NFL allowing players to play flag football in the 2028 Olympics.
They're already doing it.
Initial thought?
They're already doing it.
What?
I think the NFL wants to go to long-term goal for the NFL is by 2050 they want to be NFL flag division or NFL.
No way.
I'm joking, but it could
going
be.
that far.
But I could be serious.
It's not going that far. But I like this idea. I want to say it said one player from each team would be allowed. Only one player. So you couldn't take 2 or 3 players from the Kansas City Chiefs. It would only be allowed to be one, which whatever.
They won't do it. They won't do it unless there's big money. Look at the Olympics now. Players don't want to play because they're all about getting hurt and their contracts. They're not going to want to do that. They're not going to want to take time out of their off season.
I think they are.
Okay.
I think they are.
Will they get paid or no? Just Olympics, so no pay?
I don't know about that.
If there's not much pay, I will say not many of them will. There will be some, but I don't think many of them will.
I'd say you're probably right down the road, but I think when it first pops up this first year, you don't think there's going to be some big-time guys that are going to want to do it?
No, not many.
All right,
There'll be some.
All right, so let's do this then. I got a couple things. Let's start with this. Who do we think's going to who would you guess would be willing to play? Well, actually, hold on. Among players, Jones is joined. Hold on. Who's Jones here? Running back Aaron Jones would like to convey a simple message. Sign me up.
Talk is cheap.
Among players, Jones is joined by many, including Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, who have expressed interest. Dude, they're going to want to do it.
Yeah.
They're going to want to do it. So, who you think? Mahomes would have probably been my guess, and definitely he's my guess now.
He would be my quarterback. It's in all time.
You're not going to scramble in flag football,
Actually,
right?
I
It's
think
7-on-7.
but
right?
I think
you're not going to be running. The
but
quarterback's
scrambling
not gonna
buys
be
you
running,
more
right?
time.
Well, yeah, you could buy you more time, but
I
he
wanna
can't run.
scramble.
I don't think he's
I
going to
wanna
be able to
scramble
run
in
past the
quarterback.
line of scrimmage, right?
I want to
throw the ball.
I'm
Don't
not
you
sure.
think?
I don't know the rules.
Yeah, quarterback can't run. There's nobody. All the defensive guys are covering people.
Yeah, if the quarterback can run,
It should be 7-on-7, right? So
Yeah.
you got a quarter. You got
Lamar's got to be
and a
your quarterback. If the quarterback can run, he has to be your quarterback.
The quarterback can't run.
Okay, but he can scramble and buy time.
You can scramble, but there's no way the quarterback can run past the line of scrimmage and just start running. All the defensive guys, there's no defensive line or anything.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe one go up against the center, but I don't even know. Of course, I don't know the rules, but I'm assuming a center, a quarterback,
They might not have
possibly a running back.
Sure.
That's 3, and then either 4 receivers or 3 receivers and a tight end.
Yep.
That's what I'm thinking. 7-on-7.
Yep. I want a quarterback that's crafty, that can buy time. A Patrick Mahomes, somebody. He's got to be able to move because if not, he's going to be too easy to pull the flags out of. So,
yeah, I'd say leading candidate for 2028 Olympic starting quarterback for flag football. I would say Patrick Mahomes.
I like it.
Who else? If it wasn't Patrick Mahomes, if it's not Mahomes, you know who I'm. This is the way I'm gonna go.
Tua Tagovailoa. Seriously,
You want Tua?
you can't hit him. That's his weakness.
Yeah, that's true. He's pretty. Yeah.
He gets the ball out quick.
He ain't got a deep ball though.
Yeah, it's all right. He don't have to scramble around. He's accurate. He gets the ball out quick. Tua. I just got a Tua rookie autograph patch card, dude. So I'm in with Tua. Now.
He got a card. Here we go.
I'm in. I just got a Tua rookie autograph patch card. So.
Give me the guy that I can stand back there and sling it. He don't have to run. I don't need anybody to buy any time.
Too easy
there
to
is
pull
no
the flag.
buying time. No.
Too easy to pull the flag.
Give me Joe Burrow. Give me Burrow.
Burrow's not a bad scrambler.
I'd probably coin flip between Burrow and Herbert, but I'd probably say Burrow. Give me Burrow.
Purdy wouldn't be a bad one. Can't Purdy run a little bit?
I don't need a runner. We don't need a runner.
You need somebody to buy time.
What's he got to buy time
so
from?
people don't pull your flag.
Who's going to pull the flag?
The guy
Nobody's
rushing
blitzing.
you. You got a guy rushing
One guy.
Okay, but you got to be able to get away from him, or you have to get rid of the
My
ball.
center
really quick.
better be able to take care of his ass.
Well,
my center's got a job other than just snapping the ball. You're gonna have to.
They can blitz. They can blitz.
Yeah, I would say it's 1-on-1, right?
Yeah, but they can play like some form of zone back there, I would say.
Yeah, but everybody else is covering. Everybody else has to cover. If I got 4 receivers, they got to have 4 guys out there.
Not if you can like sneak a blitz on them. You know, you sneak a blitz and you got like 3 guys over here, and you got 2 guys in some kind of like fallback zone trying to cover that.
We're gonna have to look into the rules.
Yeah, we are.
We're gonna have to look into the rules because I don't know if they can blitz. I mean,
no, they can blitz. They can blitz. I would say you can send anybody you
man,
want.
give me Joe Burrow. I got Joe Burrow.
I got you.
All right, all time.
Steve Young.
Give me Marino. Marino slinging that thing wherever he wants to. He's got the quickest release. He ain't got the legs, but he's got one of the quickest releases.
I like the quick release thing.
Give me Marino all time.
You got to be able to scramble away from that pressure.
Running back right now, I guess we got to go with Aaron Jones because it just said he's ready to play. But I'd like a
receiving running back.
Running back. I'd like a
give me
Bijan?
somebody. Get somebody that's a good receiver. LT. I know it wasn't LT.
Shit, I'll take. Hold on, just give me Saquon.
I got you.
I take Saquon.
I don't need Saquon.
He'll jump over a guy backwards.
I don't need him to run the ball. I need the best receiving. That Bucky Irving down in Tampa. I know
he might have to pick up a little chip block though.
Yeah,
Saquon can do that.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe a Bijan, maybe
Bucky,
or do you go with like maybe a Mostert? Mostert's fast as hell. He's
I like it.
Or A-Chain. Both of the Dolphins running backs were fast as shit.
I like it. Dolphins probably be a good flag football team.
You know, hey, we would be fucking awesome at flag football, dude. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. We've got the fastest running back core possibly in the history of the NFL. And like you said, Tua, he'll sling it around. All-time running back, got to be Barry Sanders, right?
LT.
LT. Yeah, I like that. Barry Sanders, ain't nobody getting that flag, dude, with the way he moves. Ain't nobody getting his flag. But I do love the LT pick.
LT was a good receiver.
I love the LT pick. But I'm taking Barry because just get him the ball, and he's doing a little shimmy shake.
I don't think they run.
Nobody getting it.
I don't think they run.
We're going to throw him a little swing pass or something.
Was Barry a good receiver? Was he a good receiver?
He will be in flag football.
I got you.
I don't know if they threw it to him much or not.
They didn't have much of an offensive line, so they.
I'd be willing to bet he probably didn't. He probably wasn't huge in the receiving game. Yeah. But yeah, I love the LT pick.
Worst flag football running back in the NFL now, Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
there's no value there.
Bettis.
There's no value with Henry. Henry gains power, and I don't think Henry's a very good receiver either.
So all time. I think we already filled the 2028 is just going to be the Dolphins and Patrick Mahomes. All-time receivers, just off the top of your head. You got to go with the guy. Yeah,
Calvin Johnson.
But what about guys like?
I got to find me a slot guy. But
yeah, what about
Calvin Johnson and Moss are my top 2.
Gotta have both of those.
Yeah, I think them guys are freaks.
But my other 2, they're gonna have to be speedy. What about like Dante Hall? Remember Dante Hall?
I like
for the Chiefs.
What about Randall Cobb? You can throw him back there. You can do a lot of trick plays in flag football.
We could do some trick plays with Randall Cobb.
Yep, I like Randall Cobb.
Devin Hester.
Yep,
could have a Devin Hester in the slot. If you had Devin Hester and Dante Hall in both your slots, that'd be tough to cover.
Who was a receiver that was good but maybe struggled with the physicality of the sport? That's who you probably need to get. Somebody who was still good but really struggled with the physicality of it. Was Dion? Was that kind of Dion?
Yeah.
On a side note, they say Travis Hunter is really struggling with his routes in the NFL. Not to change the subject, but
it's because he's a DB.
Yeah, say he's really struggling.
I seen him throwing passes the other day.
They don't know what they want to do.
He looked pretty good.
Duval. They made a mistake. I'm telling you, Tampa was just loaded. And if I'm wrong, I will say I'm wrong because if he does good here, he's good. But I'm going to say that they just had a lot of talent, Tampa, because I still do not believe in him. But if they do good, I will say I'm wrong.
So you're saying you don't want Liam Cohen as your flag football coach?
No, I think the guy's a dork.
You don't think he's the Olympic coach for 2028?
No, I think Tampa just had a whole.
He's definitely a dork.
He had a really good situation. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong.
Oh my god,
That's good stuff. What about your center? Who's your center?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm gonna go against the grain. I'm gonna go with Kittle, the tight end. I can teach him to snap the ball, and I do know sometimes the centers can go out for quick passes. So give me a tight end type. I'll teach him how to snap the ball. We don't have to know all the blocking schemes and stuff like that. So I'm going to transition a really good blocking tight end, somebody that can go out for that quick pass. I'm going to take Kittle as my
Can
center.
your center go out for a pass?
Yes, but they're usually quick ones because they're holding that block.
We making up rules here?
I don't think so. I don't know.
We definitely got to check the rules, because if your center can go out for a pass,
But they still got to be able to block.
yeah, we're gonna think about. We got plenty of options if that's the case, because it's definitely gonna have to be.
Can you teach
tight
a
end
guy?
or something.
Would you be able to teach a tight end type to go snap the ball?
Oh yeah, snapping the ball. Come on. I'm not saying it's easy, but for an athlete, it should be easy.
I agree.
I'm sure Kittle could definitely snap. I don't know if we're just picking a center. Give me, I don't know, Jeff Saturday. He's a center.
Yeah.
I don't know many. I should know some centers.
I think you got to be able to block
I don't know
it.
many centers.
I don't know Saturday's special skills. I do think you're going to have to be able to block in space because you have no help. It's just you and a guy. Yes, flag football. The center can go out for a pass after snapping the ball. The center is eligible to receive the passes once they have completed their snap. In some leagues, the center might be allowed to release as a tight end or quick release after the snap to become a receiver.
Randall Cobb, that's your center.
I like it. I don't mind it. I want somebody
He's
big. I want
gritty enough to block.
I know, but I want somebody big and tall. I don't think he's big enough to block. I like Cobb, but they're going to put some big. They're going to put
all right, hey, here. Oh,
Kittle.
okay.
Kittle.
I might have to switch Dante Hall for like a Hines Ward,
Okay. All right.
because I probably need a physical guy to go with. I like Hines Ward.
I think whoever,
Hines Ward might even be a center.
to me, you want somebody tall because it's going to be that quick route. Because as soon as they release, they're going to come get the flag. So it's got to be somebody I think that can go up and catch one that you're in trouble and you just throw it over to them.
Yeah, you could name pretty much any tight end. Antonio Gates.
He was great. Tony G. Yeah.
Yeah, Tony Gonzalez or Antonio Gates. Who'd you say?
Kittle.
Kittle. Any of them guys will work. I'd probably go, if I'm going tight end, I probably would go maybe like an Antonio Gates. He was a beast.
He was very athletic. Can he block? I think he could block in space, give you enough of what you need.
If we're talking about all that blitzing and my center's going out, I might have to think about my quarterback situation, because there'd be a little more scrambling than I think. So if you can blitz and all this, then can your quarterback just run? There's no way
You already got Marino. You've already put him in.
Yeah,
Can't take nobody else. You're locked in.
Your quarterback can't run past the line of scrimmage, though, right?
I would say not.
No way.
I would
There's no
say-
way,
I
because the
agree.
rest of the defense
Not
is
unless
running
they
down
blitz.
the field.
I don't know, maybe. Because if not, you would just take somebody like Lamar, no doubt.
Yeah. Give me Michael Vick.
Yeah. He can pass.
Oh, he had a freaking cannon on him. Yeah, if you it changes the game if the quarterback is allowed to run for yards. I don't think they're allowed to. It doesn't make any sense when you got 4 receivers running deep routes and
No, they say no.
yeah, you can't. You can't. So yeah, I'm Marino. Give me Marino. I'm sticking with Who's your coach since you don't want Liam Cohen?
I'd probably take the guy down there, Miami. I think y'all are the perfect flag football team.
Give me McVay. I'll take McVay.
Y'all are kind of like a flag football team down there.
Give me McVay.
Tua's going to have a big year this year.
All time coach. Maybe I go with
John Madden.
John Madden.
John
That's
Madden.
great.
Yeah,
That's
I ain't
great.
taking nobody else.
You know who I want? Who was the coach of the greatest show on turf?
Norm?
Was that
No.
that Mora? Was
Yeah,
that Jim Mora?
Yep.
Yeah, give me Jim Mora.
You need to get a sideline pop into it.
Huh?
Like when you get close to the sideline, you can be popped.
Oh, I like it. So if we get players, NFL players, if we get a legit full team of NFL players, I think it'd be cool to watch. Now we're going to destroy everybody. I think I seen that they would allow teams to have 2 players if the second player plays for another country. Okay. So it would allow it would
Sure.
allow Patrick Mahomes to play, and then if say they had another player from, I don't know, where's other football players from other than America, anyways?
That's
Do we have any in the NFL? I mean,
not.
I guess there's probably a handful.
There's
that we
not
don't
many.
know. There's not many. Where are they from?
America.
No. Where's the second place they would be from?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah. I had a buddy of mine tell me that was from Croatia. I said, why is American football not popular in other countries? He said, Americans are just a lot bigger than a lot of countries and faster.
That would be the only worry about the Olympics. Who are we going to play?
Yeah. I know girls.
We're going to play Sweden in football?
Probably the Eastern European teams, like the ones that produce the basketball players.
Canada? I'm
Yeah.
sure they'll have a team.
Yeah.
They'll get their head stomped. Everybody's going to get their head stomped. But I think it will initially, at least for the first time they do it in 2028. I think it's going to be. Oh, you know where the Olympics are at in 2028?
Where?
I think Los Angeles.
Okay. That
So-
sounds about right. The girls, I know that they've introduced girls flag football into Kentucky high school sports, and they were a few years behind because there's other states that's already done it. So I like that for the
I
girls.
like it.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, that'd
gives
be cool.
them gives them something for the girls that are athletic. Gives them something to do.
So, yeah, I think it'd be initially kind of cool, but really thinking about it, we're just going to destroy everybody. There's not going to be anybody that can even come
We finally
close.
got here. Flag football, NFL.
Flag
They've been
football.
moving this way for a while.
They're-
They finally got here.
And they're going to ban us real quick from the Olympics, too. They're going to ban the NFL players real quick.
If you're another team, if you're another country, they'll come up with a team because that's a free way to go to the Olympics on the country's dime. That's what that girl. Remember the dancing girl this year, the big internet phenom. She was did the break dancing, but she did the kangaroo dance. She wasn't a break dancer. She got up there and it's like a hip hop dance and like it was professional, like Olympic type. And she got up there and just did something goofy as hell. She showed up. She was from Australia. She showed up.
Oh,
and
you're
did that
talking
for-
about at the last Olympics?
Yes.
At the breakdancing?
Yes, that was all about getting a free ride to the
Yeah.
Olympics.
And they got rid of that shit.
Yeah,
Breakdancing's gone.
any of it though. That's how you get a free. Cool runnings. They wanted to go to the Olympics. They lost their trials in running. The one guy fell down. They wanted to go to the Olympics. You're on the country's dime. Who wouldn't want to go to the Olympics? I think it's a great idea. She found a hole in the system. That girl did. She showed up and did it too. That's what I think is great.
She did. And they said, this shit is so bad, we are getting rid of this whole sport. I think she was the reason.
Good for her. She went to the Olympics on Australia's dime. I think her husband was like somebody on one of the Olympic committee boards. He's the one that came up with that plan. He's like, sweetheart, I can get you there.
All right, Aaron Judge still batting over 400, Anthony.
The beast.
The question is, I seen a little article. Basically, he's leading a lot of categories, and I think he's leading all three of the categories for the Triple Crown. It was basically polling some writers and media people and asking them if they thought he was going to go over or under some of these numbers. You know when the last time somebody batted over 360?
Tony Gwynn.
Nope. 2009, Joe Mauer.
Okay.
So it's been 16 years.
Gwynn got really close to the 400 mark a couple times, but never got it. I do know that Ted Williams only got to ever do it.
This was 360. Nobody's batted over 360 in 15 years, 16 years.
You got a lot of analytics. You got a lot of, pitch charts. It's hard.
He's still over 400, and we're about 50 games in, so close to a third of the way through the season. Do you think he bats over 400 for the season?
No.
Yeah, that's what
I've never seen it done, so that's
I
what I'm
read through
saying.
the article, and everybody they polled on that question, they all answered no.
I would love to see it happen.
I'm going to say yes.
I hope you're right.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to go against the grain,
It would be good
and
for
I'm going to say
baseball.
somehow, some way, he stays hot. He's on pace to break the record that he broke not too long ago, most home runs in the American League. He's on pace to break that again.
You know
I
what?
want to say it's like 56.
I know I've said this last week, but I'll say it again. What I love about it is his hitting coach is a guy like old blue jeans, and they call him Teacher Man. And some people agree with him. Most don't, but some do. But it's just a different way of teaching than what some of these big gurus are teaching. And I just think it's great that the judges stuck with him. I just like that whole idea of you don't always got to do things this way. And really, I think a lot of what the guy says is truth. When you look at it, I think it's a lot of it's the way the guys hit today. It's just not the way it's ever been taught, like with the wording and stuff. So that's a feel-good story, if you ask me. This guy looks like he'd be teaching English at some high school.
He's got 15 home runs. I think the record that he broke, I can't remember the number, 55, I think?
I feel like
54 or 55?
I feel like any of those batting records get harder as the season goes on. Fatigue, maybe pressure. But I hope he stays hot. I like Judge. My son likes
He's
him.
got 15 right now. You think he gets 50? Over 50? He's leading the American League with 15. Shohei has 17 and Kyle Schwarber has 16, but they're both in the National League.
I'll say no, because I say he's going to try to hit for contact more.
I like that angle. He is a power hitter, but maybe he's changed it up a little bit. Maybe
that's why he's hitting for a better average.
Maybe he is hitting for more contact this year, but he's still leading the American League in home runs, 15. I'm going to say he gets over the 50, and I'm going to say he bats over 400. I think he gets the Triple Crown this year.
Here's the real question. Would you be buying high-dollar Aaron Judge cards? Is buy or sell? So his price is probably really high right now. I haven't looked.
Oh, I guarantee.
But if he breaks that record, it goes up a whole lot more.
Right now,
buy or sell?
If I bought expensive cards, I'd be buying.
Would you?
Even though it is a high, right now it's probably one of the highest spots to buy. So maybe it's not. Maybe I wouldn't be buying. Okay. I'm not buying those super expensive cards.
You're smart.
But yeah, if you're really looking at it as a business, from a business standpoint,
trying to speculate, that's my favorite part to do.
It's a super high. It's probably the worst time to buy. I mean,
only if it don't happen. Like, because I would still say most people don't think it's going to happen.
Oh, if he bats over 400, they're going to skyrocket.
Oh my Jesus! He becomes one of the best baseball players ever.
So he's actually down to 401. So it has come down in the last week. I want to say last week when we talked, it was about
413,
something like that. So it has come down.
If he did it and they won the World Series, does he become one of the greatest players of all time just with that? If he wins the World Series and that bat 400, does that put him in the all-time? He's getting close now because he's good, but he still needs a little more. Does that make him all-time great right there? I think it does.
He's pretty damn close already.
Yeah.
If he does that, he's probably not going to bat 400. I'm trying to go out on a limb, and I'd love to see it happen, even though he is a Yankee.
Be great for baseball.
401. He better step it. He needs to step his game up because it's going down right now. But the way it looks, it'd be a huge accomplishment to bat 375.
375 would be freaking awesome.
Hasn't been over 360 in 16 years.
Charlie, 350 would be awesome. For a power hitter, 350 for a power hitter?
I mentioned it last week about, but I was taking a shot in the dark that the batting averages over 300, they've definitely come down because 15 years ago, I feel like there was a bunch of people that would bat over 300. Right now, let's see how many guys are batting over 300. Got 20 guys.
There's just so much.
21 guys.
There's so much more video on swings. There's so much more predictability of where hitters don't like it. They got, when you're watching the game, they have the hot and cold chart. The scouting reports are not just good no more. A few team has a really good scouting report. Now everybody has a good scouting report. It's hard. You're not just facing humans. You're facing computers now. It's tough. Tony Gwynn, they said, was the first guy to really watch video of pitchers and stuff like that. Now everybody, hitters and pitchers, watch each other. The game, you're not hiding nothing no more. If you got a weakness in your swing, you're going to get exploited. That's why I don't like them taking off the shift. They did that just for numbers. Quit pulling the ball every time. Learn how to hit balanced. But it is what it is. I don't even know the current rules with the shift right now.
out of those 20-something players that I said are batting over 300, more than half of them are 310 or less. You got Aaron Judge at 401. Freddie Freeman's batting 368. But he has played about 10 less games, it looks like, than Judge. But
the good thing for that number, the more games you get, the harder that number is to come down or go up because you get a bigger sample size.
you got 6 guys batting over 330. 6 guys in the whole major leagues batting over 330. Those numbers got to be they got to be down over the last 15 to 20 years, I would say. I don't know that for sure, but matter of fact, let's see how far this goes back. 2025, let's go back to, here it is right here, 2010. Boom. Well, that was easy. Yeah, maybe not. It looks like somewhere around the same 20-something players maybe batted over 300.
That was probably when that's probably when you could still shift. What year did you go back to?
I went back to 2010. Josh Hamilton led the league in batting average, 359. Carlos Gonzalez, Miguel Cabrera, Joe Mauer, Joey Votto, Adrian Beltre, Robinson Cano, Ichiro, 315, Matt Holliday. But there was only probably 25 of them. So, man, maybe I'm way off on that. Let's go back to 2000. Let's see, or it only goes back to 02. Let's see 02.
Well, you got to remember, then you could shift on people. I think now I'm just reading, it's been taken out of the game. That brings batting averages up because you got players that can only hit to one spot. They were remember them hard shifts they were putting on people?
Now there's double, and you go back to 2002, it's got to be almost doubled. 30 to 40 people.
Yeah,
batting over 300.
The computers.
Barry Bonds, Manny Ramirez, Larry Walker, Vlad, Bernie Williams, Chipper Jones, Todd Helton, Ichiro, Maglio Ordonez. Great names. Jason Giambi, Albert Pujols. Love it. Those were the days. Gary Sheffield, 307. So, yeah, I think the numbers have went down maybe over a little bit longer period, but
let me ask you this, because I just thought about this. Back in that era, steroid era baseball, did steroids benefit pitchers more or hitters? I think it actually benefits pitchers more. Yes, it benefits hitters big time. But a pitcher, it allows them to speed up their pitches, go more pitches. That's going to strike people out. You still got to hit the baseball.
Makes recovery quicker and all types of
doubt.
stuff. So, yeah, I mean, you could argue that probably both ways.
Yeah, I think it benefits pitching.
Nobody talked about that, but the pitchers were benefiting big time.
Oh, they were.
But everybody wanted to talk about the bats, which was easy because that's fun to watch. But better believe those pitchers were doing the same thing, and they were catching an advantage too.
Schilling and Clemens, I love both those guys, but they wouldn't have been able to pitch that long without that.
Clemens got a lot bigger too.
Yeah,
a lot bigger.
It was fun.
Schilling's the only one that really didn't blow up.
It was fun to watch. I know that.
It was awesome.
It was fun to watch.
It was all. Let them. You know my opinion.
If you let them do it, then they do it all the way.
Just let them do it.
How big would they get if you just let them do it? How big would they get?
If they're dumb enough to do that to their body, just let them do it.
My wife's cousin plays some AAA ball, and he made the argument. It was like there was pressure. You're in the locker room. He would play AAA during the air. He says, you open the bag. It's everybody's doing it. It's open policy. And he says, you feel pressure. Even if you don't believe in it, you feel like that guy over there is trying to take your job.
He's getting an edge.
Yeah.
I
not an
guarantee
edge, a big edge.
I guarantee you there was a ton of pressure on them guys to do
Charlie,
that.
you almost got to. If you don't, you're going against another high-level athlete. It's too much of an advantage, man. It just is. Like you said, recovery, physicality, everything. It's too much of an advantage.
Yeah, the pressure for everybody to do it, that is a problem.
Well,
I've heard those same stories that you just said. Them guys that you don't think about, the guys that maybe never made it. Them guys were going up against guys that got a huge advantage.
Well, you think about like Rey Mysterio or the 1-2-3 Kid going up against like Macho Man or Hogan.
The 1-2-3. I remember
or
that match.
What about the Warrior? Them guys were juiced up to the heels. What about if Rey Mysterio would have been juiced up? What about if the 1-2-3? What about 1-2-3? What about
at the end?
What about if Shawn Michaels bulked up?
X-Pac was doing steroids.
Well,
The 1, 2, 3 Kid was not doing steroids, but X-Pac was.
But what about they bulked up? They might have just been getting shredded. But what about? I know there's different kind of steroids. Well, if they
Shawn
did that,
Michaels was doing steroids too.
yeah, but he was doing that. He was doing the thin, like more sculpted steroids. What about if he was doing the mass steroids? Hogan, Hogan was
Big
natural.
Papa Pump.
What's that thing? Hogan was natural.
His was the worst, I think.
Who?
Scott Steiner.
Yeah, I agree.
Big Papa Pump.
Yeah.
Now
who's the guys that
literally looked like his skin was about to burst?
If you had to say one guy that you don't think that was on him, that everybody said was on him, mine is Hogan. I think Hogan's all natural. He got it through the vitamins. Did you ever hear about like how many vitamins he used to eat? Did you ever hear the stories when he would tell us like you got to eat your vitamins? I don't think he would lie to us about that.
If we're talking about guys that we think that just weren't on steroids, Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, but he wasn't that big.
Yeah, but you're talking about somebody that people would. They were all on him.
The Nature Boy. They said the Nature Boy was all natural.
No, there's no way.
They said he was all natural.
There's no way. I don't think
They say that the guy could drink. I'm sure you've heard this. They said they would go out to a bar. They do a show and go out to a bar, party all night. Some of the guys start going in about 1 o'clock. The late guys start going in about 2. And they're thinking, man, Rick is blasted over there. He got to go in. We got to get up and work out in the morning. It's mandatory. They said they go to bed and thinking, oh, my God, Rick's going to be in so much trouble. He's going to be in so much trouble, because they had guys that watched it. They said they wake up for the gym at 6, 7 o'clock thinking, man, just rolling out of bed. They stayed up to 1 or 2 drinking themselves. They said they get to the gym at 6 or 7. Rick don't look like he's been working out for over an hour.
You seen the documentary?
Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
He said he went home for about 5 minutes, looked at his kids, looked at his wife. He said, I got to go. That's horrible.
He was a wild man.
Yeah. And then one time he was in trouble with the IRS, and his wife was like, babe, the IRS is calling. And he looked at his wife dead in the eye. I think she said this, and he said, baby, do you think the IRS is going to mess with the Nature Boy?
And he probably truly thought that shit, too.
God bless.
Them guys think they're untouchable, man.
You think the IRS is going to mess with the Nature Boy? Just tell them who I am, sweetheart. You think the IRS is going to mess with the Nature Boy, Ric Flair?
We need to do a full Blitz the Bookie episode on wrestling, man, because we could go all day on wrestling. I don't know if you watched it as much as I did in the 90s.
Lived it.
Yeah.
I lived it.
Yeah. The pay-per-views back then was a completely different experience as it is now. I feel like I was pumped about like WrestleMania or Royal Rumble coming up for like 2 weeks. I would be so excited.
Because they would pump you up with the promo.
I know, and these kids are so desensitized now because there's just so much. You know what I mean? There's so many different options. When we was kids, we didn't have tons of options.
No.
You watched wrestling on Saturday mornings. That's how I really first started watching wrestling. WCW on Saturday mornings. I think maybe the first wrestler I ever saw was Ric Flair with blood in his hair in probably 1987. I'm serious. I was probably like 5 years old, turned it on Saturday morning and seen him wrestling, and it was probably Ric Flair with blood in his hair. Because how many times you seen that?
Yep.
A million times.
I tell you this. We didn't have big money growing up, so we didn't get many of them. But, man, I remember begging my dad for the pay-per-view so many times. And we might get 1 out of 20. Every once in a while, he'd break.
Oh, I had a buddy. I went over to his house.
Oh, we did too. We did too.
Every time.
They'd order both of them. I could tell a whole story on that. They'd order both of them.
And my buddy, his dad recorded them on VHS.
Same deal.
He's probably got rid of them by now. But if he didn't, he's got a box of every Royal Rumble, every SummerSlam, every WrestleMania on VHS.
She's got all of them.
Now you just need WWE Network.
She's got all of them, dude. She's got Halloween Havoc, Starrcade. Them were both WCWs. All of them. The Royal Rumble was always fun. WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series.
Yeah.
King of the Ring.
Those are.
Starrcade.
But don't you feel like
I liked Halloween Havoc because it was always during Halloween.
That was WCW.
Yeah, it was WCW. Yeah.
WCW was good though. They were both a good product.
Did you ever see the ECW when you kind of the X-rated version? It got wild.
I never really got into the ECW.
I didn't either, but it got wild. It got wild.
But I wasn't like it wasn't like one or the other to me. I love WWF and WCW. I watched both of them. Were you like that, or did you just watch one?
Both of them,
yeah, I watched both of them.
I was all about.
I always wanted Sting. Sting was always my favorite wrestler. He was probably my first
Mine was Hogan.
favorite wrestler.
I hate to say
it was
but
Sting.
Mine was Hogan.
And I always wanted Sting to be in the WWF. I don't know why.
Bigger money. It was like a
Yeah.
bigger production.
You always knew something. The WWF was just a little bit bigger.
A little bit better.
And then you got into the late '90s there, where they had the Monday night wars between WWE and WWE. I like calling it WWF still.
That's all I call it.
But they had the Monday Night Wars, and that's actually when soon after that's when Vince McMahon just bought the WCW and said, "See ya."
I remember those days.
There's a Vince McMahon documentary that just came out about 6 months ago too. You should watch that. It's pretty good too. It goes into a lot of that stuff. But yeah, we could do a whole episode on wrestling.
Good stuff.
All right, Anthony, what'd you think of the Preakness, man? I know we thought it was going to, it sucked that Sovereignty wasn't in the race. Let's not get into, not yet. We'll talk about it. But right now, just what do you think about how the race played out? The final, what do you think about what happened? So, not about the actual incident that we'll get into here in a second, but just what do you, if you,
best horse,
here's a better
best
way
horse
to
won the race. Best horse. I'm about 98% sure the best horse won the race. I would give a 2% chance to go oriented, but that's about 2 to 5%. But I think the best horse won the race.
Rate the race 1 through 10. Just overall, how you liked it.
I'm not as high as everybody else, but I still think it was fun to watch. So a 6 or a 7. I know everybody else is really high on it.
See, initially, as soon as it was over, I called you.
Yep.
And what did I tell you? They ruined the race. But man, after really going back and watching it, I probably watched it 25 times in a row. I thought it was freaking awesome.
I think it was a weaker Preakness field. I do, and I think it's a good group as a whole. I think it's a good group.
Maybe it was. You might be right.
And I think it's a good group as a whole. We thought maybe it was going to be a weaker group. I do think it's maybe a stronger. I think there's depth. I think there's some quality horses, but I think maybe there's 1 or 2 other decent horses in there. Goal oriented, I still think it's a little bit of a mystery, but I would still say he needs time to develop. But Sandman, he just ain't as good as the other ones. He's good. He's a solid horse. Nothing the matter with him. Solid horse, but he ain't up there with Journalism or, in my opinion, Baeza or Sovereignty. And you still got the 2 wood horses and Grande and Rodriguez. They get their chance.
Not talking about the actual field and, what I think of what horses ran and which didn't and how strong the field was. To me, just the race overall, I give it a 9. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was one of the more entertaining races that you're going to see. If you go back and watch it, I saw it one way, and then I know me and you talked about it, and you thought you saw it maybe a little bit a different way.
Well, at first I thought
people did. But I went back and watched it, and I feel like that had to be a tough decision.
It was. I agree with that. Because I'm opinionated about it, but I do agree with what you're saying.
I could honestly say I could probably argue it both ways.
Yep, I agree.
I could argue it that it was the one's fault, and I could argue that it was journalism's fault.
I'll say this. I think it was journalism's fault, but I think the argument can be made. So that's where I am. So I feel like it's a little bit more, and you probably feel the opposite, and there's a lot of people do. So I watched it. I was watching it in my car. I didn't get to see the replay right away. You had to see the replay because you've seen all that happen. I didn't get to see the replay, and you had seen it. And you were telling me, and I was listening to you. I've always been a fan of journalism. Of course, I was trying to beat him, but I didn't beat him. So at that point, I always like the good horses to be good. That way they can face each other in rivalries. That's just who I am. But I'd seen the race, and I had the one. And I seen journalism trying to come up, and the first thing that was going through my head, don't let him out. You got him pinned in, don't let him out. And I thought Pratt did it. The jockey on Go Oriented, I thought he did a good job of it. He has every right to do it. I keep hearing people say, well, he blocked him in. You're allowed to do that. That's a part of the game. Now, you're not allowed to do it. Go over. Yeah.
You're not allowed to move into him, but you can you can stand your ground pretty much in the lane that you're in.
People do it all the time. It's called race riding.
And there's no doubt that he was definitely trying to block him.
No doubt.
Yeah, no doubt.
100.
No doubt.
But that is a smart move. It's a legal move. Nothing the matter with it. And so this is what people see. Okay, because I seen it at first too, but I watched it over and over, and I read comments. I ain't gonna lie, I cheated a little bit, listened to opinions, 90% opinions. Oh, it was all goal-oriented's fault. But then when you would hear a couple other opinions from some people that I listen to that are kind of smart on this stuff, and they said, no, it was journalism's fault. And when I got watching it, you have to really watch the back ends of the horse. It ain't the front ends. It ain't the big move that happened. That big move caught everybody's eye, the one where the horse went left.
Jerked his head.
But why did he go left? So two things. There's two separate incidents. If this is how people are explaining it, and I kind of agree. Journalism's trying to go in a hole that's not there. It's not there.
He did. I didn't see that originally from the replay they were showing on NBC because that's what I was watching. I wasn't watching it on.
Jerry Bailey is a big Rispoli fan, by the way.
But you couldn't, from the NBC camera, you could not see that journalism was trying to sneak up through that little hole until I went back and watched the overhead, which you told me to do. Then you could see it a little bit more. But to me, it is still tricky to see kind of which one initiates and which one causes it. It's really hard to tell. I cannot tell that it is definite one or the other's fault.
Well, watch for this. And I'm not saying it's right. I think it's right, but I'm not sure. But stuff I've read and I've watched it, he comes up and he's trying to go in that hole that's not there. Before any of the stuff really happens, yes, not sovereignty, Gorian is trying to hold him in, no doubt. There's no doubt, but you can do that. But before any of the really hard stuff goes on, he comes up because the clever again or whatever the horse, he's starting to stop. He's starting to slow down, and he hits him in the butt. Before any of that happens, and when he hits him in the butt, it throws that horse against the rail. That happens slightly before the other stuff happens. All right, that's why I say it's two different incidents. Well, then he's kind of muscling his way up through there, and when he does that, he hits the back end of Go-Oriented's ass. And that's at the same time, listen to horse racing people. If you watch it, you can kind of tell. Horses switch leads down the stretch. They, in that final drive, they might be running their left lead. They switch their right lead. It's just something they're trained to do. The jockey can get them to do it. He's going to switch leads right at that moment. So it's kind of an athletic move. And that's when, almost at the same time, journalism kind of hits him in his rear end. And that's what makes his butt. You seen the butt go flying out and the horse almost turns sideways? And Go-Oriented at that point, Go-Oriented was known to be a bigger horse, a stronger, kind of a grinder. Don't have the quick turn of foot, but just a big, strong horse. So it kind of threw him all off his game. Where I was impressed, whether it was right or wrong what journalism did, I think it was wrong. I think he caused it. But whether it was right or wrong, I'm going to tell you what I was impressed. I do think the best horse won the race. Now, is that important? It's not. I think the best horse won the race. Go in and maybe slightly can make the argument because it threw him way off stride. I don't think so. I think the best horse won the race.
Nobody was beating journalism that day.
But I would like to, because when that happened to Go in, it totally threw him off. But I still don't think he was better than that horse that day.
There was nobody beating journalism that day. It was one of the more impressive wins that I've ever seen by a horse.
He never lost stride, Charlie. That's the impressive part. That horse is so
he didn't have to restart,
dude.
He might have lost a little bit, dude. But he did not have to restart.
Hey, dude, if you watch, that's an athletic move by that. Just like in humans, there's horses that are really athletic, nimble on their feet. Dude, he didn't lose a freaking stride. That was the most impressive thing about it.
But besides, I went back and watched a Fleet Alex. But
that was awesome.
But he almost fell down.
Yes, that ended his career.
Yeah, it was a little bit different. He came back and won that race, which was awesome. But besides that, I'm be honest, that was a super impressive win by journalism.
Yep.
Whether it was his fault or not, we can argue it both ways.
You can argue he was
regardless, he had a lot going on and still didn't just come back to win. He was back about 7 lengths, 6-7 lengths. That 9 horse that I mentioned slightly at the end of the show last week looked good. Had a perfect trip. Got way out front. Probably 6-7. Wouldn't you say 6-7 lengths?
I would have hated to lose that race. Had a nose for the wire. You could see it. I think Sovereignty has that same nose. You seen it. I think that was the Fountain of Youth or Florida Derby, one of them. But some horses, they know they're racing. I feel like journalism did right there. I think he knew he had to catch that horse.
Great race and a great call.
Yep.
Larry Collmus if I'm rating the call, it's getting a 9 too.
I thought it was a good call.
I'm not going to give it a 10 because there's
thought-
always got to be room, I guess, for more. But a solid 9. I watched the replay like I already said probably 25 times. I thought it was a great call, man. I did.
I'm a Tom Durkin guy. I think he has some of the greatest calls of all time, but I did like that call, and I like how the video was with it too. You mentioned that to me before the show.
Well, I saw that later.
Yeah, that was good.
Video
that was
of him doing it, and
I think them guys are really skilled to do that.
Oh, they are.
I mean, you got to. There's a new race every 30 minutes, and you got to memorize. You got to just look at your binoculars, look down at your form. You got to like have a photo.
You got to remember the names. You
And
know
the numbers.
You know there's pressure to pronounce the names correctly too. He does not want to pronounce the names wrong. So there's not just remembering them. Some horse names can get complicated.
Yes, they probably got to call the owner on some of them.
They probably did on River Thames.
Dude,
However you say that. River Thames. Thames.
That would be the hardest job in the world for me.
And then when you watch them, if you haven't seen it, go watch the video of Larry Colmus. Watch the video of it, not just the audio, and watch how he does it. He's looking through binoculars for the first 3/4 of the race.
Oh yeah.
Then they kind of hit the turn, and he takes it all. He'll watch the screen for a few seconds, and then once they get to the top of the stretch, he's watching the real race. And it is pretty cool and very impressive.
It is.
Very impressive to be able to do it as good as he does it and be on point with the names, the numbers, and everything that's going on. It is a very tough job.
You know, the one that really impresses me is like Tom Durkin there for a while was traveling different tracks. Because I feel like you get at one track and you get your system down. But somebody that travels different tracks and does different tracks, some of the big name announcers, that's impressive.
Have you ever heard the wife doesn't know?
Yeah, I have.
That's great.
One of my favorites. There's been a few. "'Tis Now for America." You know, moving like a tremendous machine. Secretariat. That's great. I love "'Tis Now" wins one for America. That's when he came back against. That's right after 9/11. "'Tis Now" was the returning champ. He had a good year. He was the Breeders' Cup champion winner, but he came back for the second year. The European or Saudi horse passed him. And he came back at him at the end. And Secretariat, he's moving like a tremendous machine, a favorite of mine. When Uncle Mo, he was the big Derby favorite, got hurt before the Derby. He had his comeback race, and his comeback race, he dog walked him. I think that was Durkin. He said he's back. It was a pretty cool call.
There has been some good ones. This is the greatest call in the history of horse racing right here, Anthony. I know you've heard it. But we got to play it.
Okay, let's do it.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Macho is in second. After that comes My Wife Knows Everything in third. On the far outside, The Wife Doesn't Know is moving up and is now fourth and right alongside of My Wife Knows Everything. My Wife Knows Everything and The Wife Doesn't Know are moving together on the far turn, and they're coming after Lady Mutada coming to the quarter pole. Lady Mutada in front. Here come My Wife Knows Everything. And The Wife Doesn't Know on the far outside. Little Miss
What's the
Macho
chances?
is fourth, they're into the stretch. Lady Mutada, My Wife Knows Everything. Center of the track, The Wife Doesn't Know. Into the final furlong. My Wife Knows Everything. The Wife Doesn't Know. They're 1-2. Of course they are. My Wife Knows Everything in front. To the outside, The Wife Doesn't Know. My Wife Knows Everything. The Wife Doesn't Know. My Wife Knows Everything. More than The Wife Doesn't Know.
How does that happen?
That's cool.
What is the chances that happens
That's
and
fun.
they run 1-2?
That's fun.
That is the greatest call. If you got a better one, there's not a better call than that.
The worst announcer in the whole country, and I'm not saying it just because she's a lady. I think it's at Parks. It's hard to listen to.
Is it?
She's hard
there
to
are
listen.
some that are rough.
She's
I don't know
hard.
that I've heard her.
She's rough. It's not like it's just not fun to listen to the race. You know, Churchill always had Mike Battaglia for a lot of years.
Churchill's always had good ones.
That they have. He was solid. He did Turfway too, and he was a good Kentucky voice. It worked for around here. I never think he got the big name like Durkin did, but he did the Derby for a lot of years. The guy they got right now is pretty good. You know,
he is good.
I think he's probably a little better than Battaglia, but Battaglia was a part of my childhood, so he did a good job. Battaglia also was a handicapper. He did the morning lines, so I thought that was cool too.
There's a couple other good ones right now. I can't think of. I don't think it's Oaklawn. There's a couple other good
Durkin's
ones.
the best.
Where's he at?
He's the one that did all the big. I don't even know if he's doing any more, but he's the one that did all the big races for a long time.
Great call by Larry Kalmus, though. And like I said, if you haven't seen it, go watch the video because it is cool to watch him do it.
Yep, it is. It's challenging. They got it at the Derby Museum, and I've tried it a few times and really tried hard. It's
What?
hard.
You get to try to call your own race?
Yeah, there's only like 5 or 6 horses in the race, and it's hard. It's
I
hard.
bet it is.
Because you're like stumbling, like you're trying to be smooth.
That's pretty cool.
The whole part's to be smooth because you got to be smooth in that job. Some of them put the sheet like on some kind of piece of metal right in front of them.
Right,
So
yeah.
they got a system. They got a system.
I think once you find your rhythm of how you're going to call the race, it's probably more about
Remembering the names
remembering
and
the
numbers.
names
Every
and
30
positions.
every 30
you know?
minutes a new race.
Yeah.
It's rough.
I'm sure those guys do their home. I mean, if you want to be good,
You got to have photographic memory because you can't just sit there and study it the night before. Like for a big race, maybe, but for like say you got a whole 11-card race, you can't say, okay, this is a 3-horse. All these are. You got to just after that race, you got to set that aside and go on with the new group of
you
horses.
think so?
I think so. I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
It'd be tough.
Yeah,
it would be
because-
tough.
because you get
it
them
would be
mixed
tough
up.
to study a whole program.
You get mixed
yeah.
up. That's tough, dude.
but
I think you get your system, like you said. I think they look for colors of silks. I think they really learn the colors of silks.
I mean, that's easy for the big ones, but there's probably because the owner picks the silks, right?
Yeah, Godolphin blue. Like you start to learn the big ownership groups, and then you use the saddlecloth too. I think it's a combination of both. But like whenever I'm betting a Godolphin horse, I don't really look for the saddlecloth. I look for the Godolphin blue. It's easier to see the jockey. Now, when I was younger, I always looked for the saddlecloth, but I'm starting to learn some of the big owners, like the Rapoli. I know it's the New York Mets colors. That's kind of
Yeah,
what I look
orange
for.
and blue.
Yeah,
So, can you call a race better or ride a bull better?
ride a bull better. Son, I'm a good bull rider, and I'm gonna go watch that movie this hour.
Oh,
Charlie, I wish you could have.
challenge.
I wish you could have been down there, dude. For a 42-year-old man that hasn't had a lot of wins in the sports world besides coaching in a while,
that's a win for you, ain't it?
son, I was feeling good that night. I walked out a little higher that night. Charlie, there was like probably
They had
like-
it set on
Charlie,
novice.
there was like 15 guys up there, and it's harder than it looks. I really was. Me and this other old guy I just thought, man, we're in trouble. But I'm going to do it because my boy was there. I said, hell, I'm having a good time. We were on vacation. We was at the resort. I got up there, dude. I got so nervous because I did, I got myself so worked up. I did. I kept telling myself, I'm going to get my legs wrapped around this thing and I'm not letting go. I got pretty long legs and I got my legs up around him, dude, and I locked them in. I wasn't coming off, Charlie.
Anthony the
I
Cowboy.
wasn't coming off, dog.
We need video.
I think there is one. So
Oh,
I think
there's
there is
video.
one. Yes, I
We're
think
going to
there
have to
is
talk
one.
to Katie about getting that.
Yeah.
All right, this weekend, Memorial Day, 3-day weekend. What do you normally do on Memorial Day? Well, I know this weekend you got a graduation
Shenanigans.
on Saturday. Not no lake life or no nothing. I know y'all
Spending
ain't
money.
gonna- Yeah,
We're spending money. My wife, she told me, she said, we're renting out the top of the BF Colonial, BL Colonial. She said, you think we should do an open bar? I said, no.
they can pay for their own shit.
Yeah, we're buying all their food, which is a pretty nice little amount of money. Like
bet it
we're
is.
renting the upstairs, and she said, "You think we should just do an open bar, or to a certain point?" I said, "Look, we're paying for their food. This ain't a wedding. This is a graduation party. If they want, we're buying all the food, so they're good. They want to buy a drink, they can buy a drink themselves."
When's that? That's it. Next weekend or 2 weekends? Couple
I'm not
weekends?
trying to let everybody know. I'm trying to keep the costs down, Charlie.
Oh,
I'm
shit.
joking. I'm joking. I'm
Shit.
I'm joking.
He said, "Don't even RSVP. I don't want your ass there."
Oh, my wife, son. We both grew up. We didn't have a lot of money, but my wife, she sure got good at spending money real quick. No, she's good. She does her part, and we're a good team.
Memorial Day to me, man, always reminds me of the Indy 500. Went for years with my dad. My dad went every year. I used to fly in from Maryland when I was a kid and go to the Indy 500. Got tons of stories.
That's the Brickyard, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the Brickyard is actually the NASCAR one that they do. They call it the Brickyard. But, yeah, the
Kiss the
track,
bricks?
the track, yeah, it's the brick. Yeah, it's the brickyard.
You ever
That's why
kissed
they
the
call it
bricks?
Brickyard. Nah, I ain't never kissed the bricks.
You ever walked on the bricks?
No, I've never walked on the bricks, but I've been in the pits before. I've had a bunch of different experiences. So I've had, when I was younger, it was just the infield, and we'd sit on the bleachers on the infield, and you could just see them come down. Really, the track's 2.5 miles long. So you sit on a turn, you can only see them when they come by your turn. It was fun when I was a kid, though, because it was wild. I mean, there was girls showing their boobs and all types of, just people getting hammered. I probably went from the time I was 7 or 8 till maybe 15 or 16, pretty much every year.
What did 7-year-old Charlie think of some double D's?
It was awesome. It was awesome. Trust me, it was one of my favorite times to come to my dad's was going to the Indy 500. I loved it. So my dad would rent a van, and we would go up there on Saturday, find somewhere right on the strip, right outside the track, and we parked the van, and there was shit going on everywhere. I mean, it was a party.
That's awesome.
It was like a huge block party.
Barry's told me a little bit about, like, probably nothing that big, but when they go to those events, it's a good time.
Oh, yeah. And you drive your car right in the infield at the Indy 500. You drive in, and you park your car, and it's, that
Party
I
time.
want to say there's like 300,000, 250,000 people, 300,000 that are normally there. It's a ton of people, but the track's huge. So, it's not like you're right on top of everybody. It's 2.5 mile track. So I've done the infield. We've done the grandstands. We've had really good seats right behind the pits where we were looking at the pits all day, which that was pretty cool. And we could see the finish line. My dad got some hospitality stuff for a few years on a vendor he worked for. They kept giving him tickets there for the last.
He was loving that.
Yeah, sometimes you go and it's 100 degrees and it's hot as shit. So once he got the hospitality tent, we'd have a little air conditioner spot to go in and eat some food, and it was good times. So that's always what I think of Memorial Day.
I'm glad you got something to help you remember about your dad, Charlie.
The Indy 500. I'd like to go back. We haven't been. Of course, he passed in 2019, so we haven't been since then. But I think it might even have been a year or two before. It's probably been 7 or 8 years. But I'd love to go, man. You ain't never been. I'm telling you, we should take the kids one time.
Yeah, I'm down.
Go up there. It is a good time, even if you're not into the racing. And look, I'm not a huge racing fan by any means, especially not the Indy car. I don't know if I could name you one or. I don't even know if I can name one. Yeah, that's Formula One, and he's been retired for probably 15 years. But I couldn't name him, so it's not about it's more. It's just an event.
What about Andretti? Is he still racing?
Those were always my favorites. Yeah. Mario Andretti, my all-time favorite racer, and I always liked Michael, and then Marco.
They're my favorite too.
Yeah, that's who I always liked.
The only ones I know. But
back in the day, the Indy series was just as big, maybe even bigger than the NASCAR was back in the late 80s, early 90s. The Indy was huge. Now I don't know who any of the guys are, but I don't know who any of the NASCAR guys are either. But yeah, Indy 500, always a fun time. We need to take. I know my kids would love it. We've actually been once. Charlie's been once, but I think he was about 3, 4. Yeah. I don't even know if he really remembers it, but. And I heard, you know what else I heard? Which I thought was crazy. They'd still do a blackout if they didn't sell out the grandstands for the Indy 500.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Up until last year, they just reported, I think it came out today or yesterday, that they have sold out the grandstands for the first time in, I don't know, 10 years or 15 years. And the people of Indy are actually going to be able to watch the Indy 500 on TV live. Can you believe that up until last year that they have been watching the Indy 500 delayed? Like 3 hours after the race is over?
I understand it, but I don't. So.
You remember that?
Yeah,
I know you remember
football
that.
Yeah,
Kentucky football, right?
Yeah.
Even Kentucky basketball in the 90s. Yeah. I think that was up until about the mid-90s. I feel like they did that, but it feels like...
I kind of understand it a little bit, but then that piece of me, it's like, come on, it's 2025. It's
crazy. Your local people don't even,
Yeah, but they want them to come to the game. And if they don't come to the game, everybody watches it on TV, then, you need people in the stands.
You got 200,000 seats.
I get it.
That's
No,
a
I
big
get it.
sell.
I do.
It ain't a 20,000 seat arena. That's 200,000 something seats, and they expect like 150,000 in the infield.
Maybe they need to like implant some more boobies or something. You know,
They definitely need to get back to the booth.
Yeah, that probably brings people in.
Oh, it's a huge party in there. I don't know if it's like it used to be, but man, when I was a kid, I got stories. One of my dad's buddy so Saturday night, we parked the van, we go out, we walk the streets, and my dad's buddy had to take a piss. And let me tell you something. Do not take a piss in public in Indianapolis, because he ended up getting locked up on Saturday night. And you know what happens when you go to jail on Saturday night. You don't get out till Monday. He had to miss the race on Sunday.
Poor guy.
And my dad had to take me home Sunday after the race and then drive back up to Indy on Monday to get his buddy out for pissing behind a building.
Did he argue with the cop?
I don't think so. I wasn't there when it happened. I think Trey might have been there that year. We were doing our thing with my dad, and I think a couple of his buddies left, and then next thing you know, only one of his buddies come back, and we're like, "Where's Joe at?" He's like, "Well, he is not with us right now." And yeah, he missed the race, stayed in jail Saturday night, missed the race Sunday, and
Dad had to go back and get him.
yeah, that sucks.
Good for him,
All
though.
over peeing behind a building. So don't do that if you do go to Indy. Find a porta potty, because you will spend the weekend in jail.
He might have said a few words to him.
He probably did. Yeah, other than that, Anthony, we'll have some NBA basketball. Tonight is game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, OKC and Minnesota. I know we both picked OKC.
OKC
You ain't
all the
changing
way.
it, right? Yeah.
OKC all the way.
Yeah, they're going to probably win it.
Now that Denver's out, I picked OKC to beat them. I think OKC's the best team. I think the championship might have just happened. I think it was Denver and OKC. But New York's playing good. So is Indio. So we got some good teams left.
Well, we got the Knicks and the Pacers, which makes me think of
Old school.
Reggie Miller and your
Starks.
boy Rick Smith.
Yep.
Yep. And John Starks, Patrick Ewing, Oakley, Mason,
Spike Lee.
Spike Lee.
Does he still go to the games?
Reggie with the choke.
The tickets in the
Spike
Garden.
Lee still goes to the games, I believe.
The tickets in the Garden would be a hard ticket.
Real hard.
They've been waiting a long time.
Oh, they're pumped up.
I hope they kind of win it. Like, to me,
That's who I'm cheering for.
I like SGA because he's a Kentucky guy. You know, I like Chet Holmgren. But at the end of the day, I hope the Knicks win it.
I'm cheering for the Knicks, too. We got a player on every team. You know that?
Yep.
We got Towns on the Knicks.
Ain't Maxey, is he? No.
No, we got
Randall's on.
We got Randall on the
Minnesota,
Timberwolves, and we got SGA and Cason Wallace on the Thunder.
There could be more we just don't know about.
And there's one more on Indy. We got
Is Trey Lyles?
you
is he still
probably
playing?
won't even remember this guy, Isaiah Jackson.
I do remember him.
Played for us for 1 year.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, and he plays for Indy. So we got a player on each team. I think Oklahoma City.
Cal put some pros in the league. We could
there
like him,
ain't
not
no
like
questions
him.
about that.
Hey, he made us have a lot of pros.
But yeah, there's no question about that. He put a lot of guys in the pros. SGA, shit.
I never seen that coming. I thought he was good in college, but he kept getting better. He wasn't even the biggest recruit that year.
No, we started Severe Wheeler over him at the beginning of that year.
And SGA just kept getting better and better and better. NBA, same deal. The guy's good.
He's real good. And I think he's going to have them at the top for a handful of years.
And they got some good young players.
He's got a window here to
They
really
got Chet,
make a run.
the other boy. They're good.
They are good. I think they probably win it, but I'm cheering for the Knicks.
Knicks got a shot. They're playing good, dude. We're just going to see where the power is. Is the power in the West or the East? That'll be the determinant.
I would like to see Minnesota at least put up a fight here against Oklahoma City. I think they can, but they're going to have to come out hungry in the first couple games. If not, I say OKC in probably 5.
Chet's going to shut Ant down. Ant's going to come up there and try to dunk. Chet's going to meet him.
Chet's going to shut him down?
Chet's going to meet him at the rim.
Good luck with that. All right, Anthony, you got anything else?
I would just like to take a second and Remember the storm victims this week, guys. I have a lot of family that lives in London, Kentucky. I lived in London for a year. That's the same place Reed Shepherd went to high school, grew up. They're not the only place. I know they had some down in Somerset. Look, when the winds start coming through this week, I was on the phone with Charlie, and Charlie lives a little bit more east of town than me. I said, Charlie, it's pretty serious out here. He says, it's like that? I said, these are some of the harder straight line winds I've seen. And so I got off there. I got off all my family off one side of the house where I got a tree. Drew, if you're listening, I still got to get you out there whenever you get caught up before this tree kills us. But anyhow, they end up coming through. They come through here pretty hard, Charlie?
Yeah, it did.
They did. But so we didn't get
quick, though.
Yeah, it was. And they were just really hard straight line winds. They said the airport had like 85 mile an hour winds, like the second highest mile per hour winds since the like 70 something tornadoes. It was.
And that was a huge tornado that ripped through Kentucky there. I want to say.
Like it was 100 and something tornadoes in the 1970s, that year.
No, I'm talking about this one that just hit.
So it hit down by London and Somerset. I got a lot of family lives in London.
They said it was on the
over an hour.
Over an hour.
Over
Dude,
an hour.
How nuts is that? They're saying in the satellite view, you can actually see the path.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was.
I'm not saying no tornadoes easier than others, but they're rated different scales. If the F1 tornado comes through, you can be in your house. It's going to tear your shingles up good, tear your house up, some trees up good, but it's not going to pull your house off the foundation. When you start getting into what this level of tornado was, which is upper level 4, some level 5, the level 5 is high as you can go, F5, that pulls houses off foundations, brick homes off foundations. And we all know how homes are built to standards so they can survive those things. You imagine, so if you're in a basement, you're really not safe. It'd suck you out of the basement, right, Charlie?
You'd be lucky.
I mean, you just hope that the tornado don't hit residential areas. I went up to Henryville after the destruction. That was some F4, F5s some years back. And wherever that cyclone hits, that's where the damage is. You might be a half block down the road and not get much damage at all. So you got to be in that spinner. But if you are and you're in a residential area, that could take some lives quick. If it can take a house off a foundation, it can pull you out of your basement.
Yeah, I hated to hear that. Kentucky has been hit really, really hard over the past 5 or 6 years with a lot of storms that have ripped up a lot of different places in Kentucky. So I hate to see that again. It seems like we're becoming the new Tornado Alley.
And if you need gutters, please call Charlie Winkle with Defining Edge.
Sponsored by Defining Edge Home Improvements.
I'm joking. I know you don't wish that on nobody, Charlie.
No. Matter of fact, I was actually thinking the other day, I wish I had some time to go down there and help out, because I swear I would go down there for a day. I would take my kids. I would take Charlie and Nathan down there and help out.
Did I ever tell you the story about the big one that hit Henryville? So we were coming back. My grandmother had her first little medical episode. We were up at Great Wolf Lodge with my daughter. Maybe my son was very young. If he was a baby. And we were coming home because my grandmother had a medical episode, and we're coming home, and we were getting phone calls from family. Hey, be careful. They knew we were coming down the river there, down 71 back towards Louisville. Hey, these tornadoes are really serious. Be careful. Well, we're around Carrollton. You know where that is up there. Mm-hmm. We're getting phone calls from everybody. They said, where you at? They said, man, be careful. It's not that far from you. And we're hearing like a radio thing. If you are in the Carrollton area, please, at this point, we know there are these monster tornadoes. Please take cover. I see the Carrollton exit. So first thing I do, I open my GPS like real big, so I can see the kind of the landscape kind of right at Carrollton. It starts to go south. It don't ride the river. It starts like kind of start going hard south. And it goes back to kind of riding the river, but just kind of dogleg south. I thought about stopping. It was crossing the river right there from Indiana. Dude, I went about 110 miles an hour in my family in the car and just hit south because I knew I was going away from it at that point. Where we were going to stop at, man, it did a lot of damage right there. Did a lot of damage. I'm not saying, that would have been us or not been us, but I probably was within a minute and a half of it, I think. I kind of looked at it, did a guesstimate about a minute and a half of it.
That's crazy.
That's too close. I know a minute and a half is a long time, but that's too close.
That is awfully close. I know I told you the storm that hit a handful of weeks ago ripped Chad's roof off of his building, which is less than a mile from right here where we sit right now.
You know, with all security cameras this day and age, everybody got them. You're starting to see stuff we've never seen. All these pictures of these tornadoes, the damage. People didn't have security cameras like that back in the day.
Yeah, there's lots of crazy videos, lots of them. Yeah, so I hate to hear that. I wish, Kentucky would stop getting hit like this, because it seems to be happening more and more. But maybe it's just going to be something that we're going to have to get used to, because it does seem like it's starting to happen more over the last 5
I've
to 10
actually heard
years.
the tornado alley shifted. It used to be like Oklahoma, and it still is, but I've heard it shifted a little bit to like western Kentucky. I don't really think they call Louisville Tornado Alley yet, but that
awfully close, though.
very western part of Kentucky, I think they consider that part of Tornado Alley now.
This weekend also is Memorial Day, guys. If you had any veterans in your family, if you know any veterans that might have passed, this weekend is about all those veterans that have served to give us what we have here in this country, the freedom to get on this Blitz the Bookie podcast and say whatever we want.
It's real, guys.
So, yeah, it is real. So happy Memorial Day to everybody, and we'll be back next week.
Yep.
Blitz the Bookie.
As always, see ya.
Charlie got the mic, he's dropping facts all day. Anthony's like, nah, I got the better parlay. Argue about the spread, it's a fierce debate. But when it comes to Wildcats, they align their fate. Blitz the bookies where the knowledge reigns. Charlie and Anthony bring the heat like flames. Talking parlays, breaking down the games. Kentucky Wildcats, they beat the same drums. Late nights, hustle deals on the line. Charlie Stats, he's gonna make you shine. Anthony's heart where the numbers combine. Put your cash down, ride the incline. Blitz the bookies where the knowledge reigns. Charlie and Anthony bring the heat like flames. Talking parlays, breaking down the games. Kentucky Wildcats, they beat the same drums. From the tip off to the final play, they grind. Mike's on fire, bets on their minds. Arguing odds till the last rewind. Blue and white, it's a bond you'll find. The bookies where the knowledge reigns. Charlie and Anthony bring the heat like flames. Talking parlays, breaking down the games. Kentucky Wildcats, they beat the same drums. To the final play, they grind. Mike's on fire, bets on their minds. Arguing odds till the last rewind. Blue and white, it's a bond you'll find. Bond you'll find. Blitz the bookies where the knowledge reigns. Charlie and Anthony bring the heat like flames. Talking parlays, breaking down the games. Kentucky Wildcats, they beat the same drums.